to get everybody on the same playing field, we got a couple slides about PureLink. We've been in business for 22 years now, and we started with Mintu Park, our founder, ran an engineering division at Samsung, left Samsung, and went to solve problems in the industry that were unsolved, most notably HDCP key management and matrix switching systems. Mintu pioneered the solutions for that back in the early 2000s, along with other innovations like the world's first DVI over fiber cable and many more that you'll see in the next slide. But we're basically a bunch of engineers who are trying to solve problems, and that's PureLink is founded on. And we also thankfully have many staff who have worked in integration, including myself. So we feel the pain of the other side of the equation, the end user, the installer, the sales engineer, and so on. So we hope we're helping out. And if there's anything you want to bring to our attention in current or future products, don't hesitate. We're more than happy to hear. We can make sure we hit the mark for what you need. Okay, so next slide up is basically the innovations. I mentioned some of them already, but we try to keep going here. And in just the last couple of years, we've come up with Icon Easy Control. And even though it's not supposed to be in the class today, I'm going to show you a little bit about it because I think there's value in you seeing this Icon Easy Control because it's got two really major advantages to it. One of them is the programming language. Really, there's barely anything to learn. So you can become very proficient in creating control systems without learning a programming language. And the other is it's a very a la carte system. You can control with just one piece of gear or have dozens, whatever you need to make the system work. So I'll show you that near the end. But you'll see this year, 2024, we've offered a bunch of new USB-C and Dante stuff, what this class is about. So we're going to take a look at that. We do have 6 sub-brands. Just to go over these real quick, Media Access is our flagship 4K 60 cross-platform matrix solution. There's other classes on that, so please sign up for that. PureMedia has been around for a couple of decades. That is in its 9th generation and is our 4K 30 cross-platform matrix switcher. Both of them have Dante options on them that we'll look at the very end. PureStream is all of our AV over IP products, from encoders and decoders to cameras and streaming encoders, very popular line. And Icon, like I just mentioned, is our control automation revolution. And HD Tools is mostly what we're going to be going over today because it includes a lot of our USB-C stuff and Total Wire. We won't be going over anything on that today, but I will give you a preview that we are launching in the next month, a whole line of USB-C, copper, and fiber cables. So obviously that relates to today, but they're not officially launched by this webinar, but we're going to have that done by this time in April. If you sign up for our emails, you'll learn about those real time when we launch those. So we'll cover that at the end also. Okay, so PureLink covers many, many markets. This slide here just shows obviously a few of the 400 plus, giving you an idea that we do everything from government and military and education and corporate, medical, entertainment, hospitality, and so on. And we do almost every cruise ship line you can think of. So we've been around, as I mentioned, over 2 decades. We're in a lot of critical mission systems, running 24/7, 365, military bases, and so on. All right, so let's jump into the product. So USB-C, we call it for collaboration for the reason that really the purpose that USB-C has now served is single cable connection from laptops. So it's mostly in those scenarios that you're going to run into USB-C. If you've noticed, the new laptops out these days, you can get power, you can send video and audio out, and you can connect to peripherals all through one cable. So it's really kind of taken over as the connectivity in those situations. And laptops most commonly are going to be in presentation and collaboration like what we're doing today. So now you're going to need to start looking at extension and switching in huddle room and conference room spaces. and in presentation spaces as well. So even in auditoriums and house of worship or things like that, you're going to start seeing USB-C if you are not already becoming proliferated. So we have pretty much everything you need. So let's take a look at what we've got. The first one up, and we've had this for a while, by the way. So, we weren't just now presenting USB-C product. We've been carrying the PSH20S for a few years now. So this is our 8 input, 2 output, seamless switching 4K 60 switcher. Now, starting with the output side, we've got 2 buses, as I mentioned, output 1, which is an HDMI out, and output 2, which is HDMI with a parallel HDBaseT output. And that also includes in the box, included in the price, the HDBaseT receiver. Both of these outputs have independent scalers, so you can set them as needed for whatever displays are connected to them. You also have audio de-embedding for each of those output buses in both stereo balanced analog on a 5-pin Mini Phoenix and SPDIF optical connector. On the input side, the first input is a HDBaseT transmitter that again is included in the box and in the price for the PSH20S, and that is 4K 60 transport as the first input. And then the next 4 inputs are HDMI 4K 60 inputs. The first 3 of these are embedded audio options. So you can replace the audio on inputs 1, 2, and 3 with stereo balanced analog inputs. The 5th input, I think I've already mentioned, but it's the HDMI. And then you've got input 6 is VGA with a 3.5 millimeter stereo unbalanced audio input. Input 7 is DisplayPort, and input 8 is USB-C. You have front panel controls, but you can lock that out. And you also have a rotary dial for mixing or setting volume levels of the HDMI bus 1 out and HDBaseT output 2 output with VU meters. You can also see a mix level on there as well. The switch allows last input priority. So whatever's connected last will automatically come up, or you can disable that. And there's a screenshot here of the web interface, so you can control it by accessing its web UI through a browser. You can also perform other functions like setting the scalers or audio mixing, things of that nature, but you can also set or disable CEC control to automatically turn displays off and on that are connected to the switch. And I can also program RS-232 codes into the switch if I want to turn off and on displays via RS-232 commands. That's possible as well. We have a rich control command API, and we do have plugin for QSYS available, and of course our own Icon control automation platform. We have a driver for the PSH20S as well. So it's very easily and completely controllable, and there's also an infrared remote if that is useful in the applications that you do. Okay, so that is our PSH20S. I'm going to go on to its little brother here, which is the 610. So that's 6 inputs by 1 output. And this is also seamless 4K switching. Now this also offers multi-view that allows me to take up to 4, anywhere from 1 to 4 of the inputs and display it on the output simultaneously. The inputs on here, you've got 3 HDMI inputs on the back of the main switch. And then if you look at the HDBaseT receiver, which is included in the box and the price and so on, there's a local HDMI input on the receiver, which is auto priority switching. However, you can disable that, and you can also use the front panel button on the receiver to select that input. And through our commands, our API, you can also select that input as well. So that would be your 4th HDMI input. And then you've got 2 USB-C inputs that support charging of the device that is connected to it up to 60 watts. So again, that's very convenient. You come in with a laptop and you plug in USB-C directly to the PS610, and it will keep the laptop charged while you're using it with the switch. We also, as you can probably see, we've got USB-A and USB-B connectors so that you can support extension of keyboard, mouse, and other USB peripherals. On the output side, the HDMI out is mirrored to HD-Base-T, and as I mentioned before, the receiver, the HD-Base-T receiver, is included in the price. And you've got audio embedding, stereo balanced in, and you also have audio de-embedding, stereo balanced out. But you also have Dante, and so this is an important feature that should help you in a number of applications where I can either bring 2-channel input into the switch and use that audio to my outputs, or I can take 2-channel Dante output out of the PS610 and go into the Dante network. Right, so this would be quite a valuable feature if you're trying to move the audio out to a codec or get it on the network to get it somewhere else in the Dante system for processing or breakout rooms or things of that nature. So please take note of the Dante connectivity on this product. And as you see it as an infrared remote control, the front panel can be locked out. You can also do auto switching just like its big brother. And I can also create a preset. So if I want to do a preset on that, we've already got an icon driver for the PS610. So take a look at that product and let me know if you have any questions on that. And next switch we have up, we've also carried for a while, is our bring your own device seamless switcher with wireless inputs, the Collabora 8 4K. So this is a 4K 30 product. It does have hardwire inputs on the back, as you can see, 2 HDMI inputs, VGA, and USB-C in, and then it has 2 4K 30 outputs, HDMI out 1, HDMI out 2. We do have front panel controls on here if you need them, but again, as with all of our products, we always offer quite a rich control command API, and you can do multi-view. If you look at the lower right screenshot, I believe that's 7 we're showing there, but it can do up to 8 simultaneous images, anywhere from 1 to 8. Then you see these dongles at the bottom. You can do up to 4 dongles, and those are sold separately. So if you don't need them, you don't pay for them. But those have both USB-C and USB-A connector capability on them, and they work with Windows or Mac laptops. So you can connect up to 4 wireless. And on the left, you'll see we're showing 2 phones, and you can wirelessly connect your Android or your iPhone to this switcher, and it will automatically display. In fact, in that screenshot, you'll see the 2 lower left Android and iPhone images up there. Okay, so this allows very flexible collaboration, seamless switching, and so on. All right, so now we'll move towards switching extension. And the first one up is Hue, our Hue 100. And this is a 4K 60 switcher extender. So it's a 2-input switch. It's got 1 HDMI in and 1 USB-C input. And then that extends up to 100 meters at 4K 60 to the receiver. But if you choose to only use up to 1080p, you can actually extend 150 meters with this product. Okay, so that'd be good for, smaller huddle spaces where maybe there's just a couple of laptops, or maybe even have just 1 laptop and a video playback source or things like that. And we do have audio extension and RS-232 extension across this device, as well as control. Okay, next up is our HWCE 4. This is a wall plate, US single gang, and it has last input priority and also a switch right on the wall plate that allows you to pick between the HDMI input or the USB-C input. And another nice feature on the receiver side is I have an HDMI local priority input. Okay, and it does 100 meters of 4K 60 over Cat6. And it has audio extraction at the receiver, as well as extension of USB, keyboard, mouse type peripherals. Okay, now we just get into extenders, and here is the USB-C 3.2 Gen 1 extender over Cat6 100 meters. It also offers RS-232 extension as well, and you've got some USB-A connectors here in the event that you've got some peripherals that you want to connect up, as keyboard, mouse, and so on. I don't have a picture of it. We'll have that on the product page shortly, but there is a 1U rack mount that allows you to mix and match the receivers and transmitters on that rack shelf. So if you have some receivers and some transmitters, you can actually mount them both directly, designed to handle either or. Okay, and then last up is our EZU, and this is really just taking USB-C across Cat6, 30 meters. So you're looking at somewhere around 90 feet over Cat6, and you just plug the dongles onto either end of that Cat6 cable, and you instantly have USB-C extension, and it's powered from the USB-C port of the source device. Okay, so that's pretty handy, pretty cost effective and simple, and allows you just very simple USB-C extension. And as I mentioned before, I don't have slides in here because they're not official, but we'll be adding end of next month USB-C, fiber, and copper cables to the USB-C offerings. Okay, last one up in the USB-C section is our Huddle cam. This camera, like everything else we showed, is very typical in collaboration environments that USB-C is becoming, the way to connect. So you would now want that also when you're trying to connect up a camera and soundbar and microphone system to your laptop or desktop. So the Huddle Cam 400 provides USB-C output, and of course it has auto tracking. So one thing that's really different about our solution here from other manufacturers that you see out there is that our camera system actually is a true electromechanical PTZ moving camera. So as it tracks the speaker, you'll actually see the camera move. And the reason why that is an advantage is because a lot of our competitors use digital, electronic, pan, tilt, and zoom. And what that means at the end of the day is they're not using the full resolution of the chip in their system. They're using a subset of that. So you're reducing the quality of the image. So by mechanically moving the chip and the optics towards where the presenter is, we preserve that. And it also is more cost effective because you'll see some manufacturers have multiple cameras on their similar solution. So you're paying for multiple chips and multiple glass to have those, but instead we went with better optics, better chip, and just moving that system around. So it actually is less. Okay, you can turn off the auto tracking if you like. You can set a couple of different modes to the auto tracking, and you can also set presets. So if you just want to call presets, and you see the remote control is full featured, you can control the volume of the speakers, you can mute the speaker, I can mute my microphones, and I can zoom, pan, and tilt the camera and call the presets all from that remote control. We also offer an optional hockey puck microphone you see in the bottom right that has a mute unmute button, and it's LED backlit, so you have confidence whether your microphone is on or not. That's important. So if it's green, you're live, and if it's red, the mic is shut off. Okay, and that's optional. The microphone array that's built into the camera will handle up to 5 meters. So that's a pretty wide range of conference room sizes. But if you do need, the additional microphone, you have that. There's signal noise reduction, dynamic range, all built in, and you can access the features through the menu system. And that's it on the camera. By the way, everything that I've showed you is in stock. I'm not a sales guy, but it's important that I speak for them that if you need to order anything, we can ship. Okay, so now we're going to look at our Dante solutions. We have a number of them, as you can see. We're going to start with our dongles. The first one is taking USB to 2-channel input or output on the Dante network. So a practical example of this would be a laptop. I can pull 2 channels of audio off the Dante network and bring it in to a laptop, or I can take 2 channels of audio out of my laptop and put it onto the Dante network. So that would be useful in scenarios where you may have audio mixing, audio processing, codecs, and things of that nature. So this is a very useful tool here. And then we also have Dante 2-channel to balanced analog 2-channel output. So this is something you might see more in professional audio analog transport, where maybe you need to take 2 channels off the Dante network into a mixer or some speakers or processors. And then complement to that is taking 2 channels of balanced analog into the Dante network. So maybe you're pulling it off of an audio mixer or codec or playback device and putting it onto the Dante audio network. Okay, the next products here, these are more based on install. They're all, rack mount style, box style. And we start with the 4-in, 4-out with a full suite of digital signal processing. And you can see we've got feedback control and echo control, noise and gain, and you have EQ and compression, expansion and levels and everything you could possibly need to adjust and manage audio from sources like microphones and playback devices and audio mixers, and also outputs to speaker systems and amplifiers and so on. Okay, so that's a 4x4, and there's also a USB connector on here for a 2-channel input output, so you get that as well. And the next 2 products are just larger I/O counts of the same product type. So here now we offer it in an 8-in, 8-out, 1U rack mount, and 16x16, again, all with full DSP capability. Okay, so that's most of our Dante. Don't forget the PS610 switch I showed you earlier has Dante 2-channel I/O. And once we wrap up, I'll show you the Max 2 and the PureMedia Dante capability, which is quite broad. All right, but I'm going to show you a little bit about Icon Easy Control. Again, we didn't tell you it was going to be in the class, but this is, I think, important enough for collaboration spaces, places anywhere where you're going to be doing USB-C and Dante. There's likely going to be control. The real main ingredients of our control system is that all of these interfaces are controllers. You don't need like the black boxes you're seeing. It's not necessary for every application. So it is possible to just have a touch screen and control in a lot of applications. Where you might need the black boxes is if you need more I/O connectivity, and then you can add them. So you'll see those as I run through all of here. So that's number 1 important selling point here. And the second one is the human readable language coding. And I'm going to show you that here in a second. But it literally is, you can write code with the click of a mouse and just typing things as you understand them. You don't have to learn proprietary languages. You don't have to know a lot of these deeper languages like Lua or Simple or C# or Java. However, we do offer the ability to program in Java if you prefer to do that. So it's an either or a both and situation we'll take a look at in a moment. And tying that up, the learning process for you to learn how to program and implement an Icon system is so easy that we usually find that it takes a couple of days to learn how to program in the easy language, and you can implement a real life application control system. So this is quite an advancement from working with other brands like QSYS or Crestron or Extron or AMX or Control4 or so on. This is definitely an evolution in making things easy. And when they're easier, you save time, and you save money. And you can also then decide that when you quote control systems to your clients, that it's a much more affordable option than they might have otherwise been presented with. And you can therefore offer control to people who otherwise may pass, or they may limit what hardware or what level of sophistication is in the programming. Now you can offer all that. Okay, so let's take a little bit of a look at that. The first one up is our K10D, and that is a 10-button keypad dual gang with a push-button rotary dial. It offers a number of control connections on the back, LAN, 2 RS-232 ports, and 2 relays. one infrared, and one digital I/O. So it has a good bit of control connection built right on it. So in a lot of cases, you can use this keypad without any additional hardware to provide a simple control system for a huddle room or conference room or auditorium space and so on. Now, if you need additional connectivity, there's two ways you can go. And we're going to look at these boxes in a moment. But you can either go with the C8 master controller, which offers a lot of additional connectivity, or you can add the E4 expander, and you'll see that in a moment, that offers a reasonable amount more connectivity. And another feature when you add these two boxes is that they don't have to be in the same geographical space because they connect to each other across a network. So you could have your additional I/O boxes in different rooms or different floors of a building and so on. So it makes it very flexible. Okay, so if you need a touch panel, we've got a 4-inch touch panel. This is a double gang wall mount. As you see, it comes with all the vanity plate to go around the touch panel. But this offers LAN port and RS-485. So as long as that's all you need for control, this is all you need. But again, you can add the C8 or the E4 for additional I/O. This device is powered via PoE, as the K10 that I just showed you was also powered PoE, and they only use about half that. So they run about 7-8 watts. So they run very cool. There's no fans or anything. But if 4-inch is not big enough, then we also have a 10-inch tabletop, and I'm about to show you the wall mount version of the same. But this is just ultimately a larger version of the T4. So we have 10-inch, allows you a lot more real estate, so you can offer a lot more graphics in one screen as opposed to flipping pages, for example. In this, and I'm not a graphics designer, but this is just to show you that you can have icons for inputs on your switching system, and I can have lighting presets and sliders as well as for audio. I can pick inputs off of like a graphic of the room, and I can show previews of videos of inputs in my system. And then on the right, I can have presets that, let's say I call presentation preset. That'll set my inputs, set my lighting, set my audio, maybe set the HVAC or turn on other devices and so on. So it can control anything as long as it has any of the common port types. So it's as powerful as any other brand out there. Again, as I mentioned, we have a wall mount version, and we do include the mounting box for this 10-inch wall mount. So that comes complete, ready to go. So let's look at the C8. So as I mentioned before, everything that we've looked at is in its own right a controller and an interface, unless you need more connectivity. The C8 is also a controller and an interface with a little bit of a twist. So first, let's talk about the hardware. I've got lots of connectivity, as you can see. I've got LAN control. I've got 8 RS-232 ports, 8 relays, 8 infrared, and 8 digital I/O. Now, the C8 can work with any of the panels that I've just shown you. And what happens in that case is those panels go from being their own controller to becoming a slave to this controller. So you just change the mode of those panels from controller to slave. And what happens is they look at the user interface pages that live inside the C8. And the reason this is an advantage is because now I can also choose to use a Chrome tablet or a Windows tablet as my user interface. So I can either have proprietary or standard OS type tablets to access those pages. And we will have Mac-based tablets. The ability to use those will be ready in Q3 of this year. So not terribly far away. In July, we'll have that functionality. Okay, and I know we haven't seen the E4 yet, which you'll see in the next slide, but if the C8 still is not enough connectivity or it's not in the right place in my system, I can add E4s to other rooms or other floors of a building to get my connectivity in the right place or to add additional connectivity that I need. Okay, so here's the E4, and the E4 is just an expander. So you add it to any of the other devices. It's not a controller in its own right. It's just additional ports. So it adds a LAN and RS-232, 4 of those, and 4 relays. So I can place this in other locations, as I mentioned before. So it works with every piece of gear that you've already seen. All right, so to sum that up, that's basically the a la carte approach. You can have one interface, multiple interfaces, additional control, use the C8 as the master, or you can just add E4s. You can add as many E4s as you need. So I can build the system exactly as I need it, just get what I need. And I can also scale it over time. So if the client just wants to start with a tabletop controller or a wall mount controller, and then add more later, or add more connectivity, or you want to add more functionality to the program, you can recode the project at any time and revise it to give more features and functions. Okay, so now we're going to do a quick look at the development environment, the easy control, where you write your code and you create your user interface. And this is just an overview. If you sign up for the Icon classes, we can do a deep dive, and you can also get the Icon Easy Control program and demo hardware to learn how to program it. I think you'll find it startlingly easy. I know there's some people on here who not only have taken those classes, but have that hardware, and I believe are writing their own programs just from coming to a couple of webinar sessions. So what we're pointing out here in this is mostly the human readable coding. That's our language called Easy. And as you can see here, it's just written out for you. And in the orange box is an example of sending a string to our PS610 switch that I showed you earlier. And the code literally just says call the TX string for the PS610, and then what is the string, and you just type that in at the end. That command would be in the API document for whatever switch you're using. Of course, we offer you the Icon drivers for our products, so you wouldn't even need to do much of what I'm showing you. And then the next line below it is just printing some debug information to the console of the program so that you can make sure your programming is working correctly. And then at the bottom, we're showing conditional statement. So a lot of times when you press a button on a touch panel for control, you press it and it sends a string out to some device to change its state. And that's fairly simple stuff. But you always want your control panel to reflect the actual state of the equipment in the room. So what this condition statement is doing is when I tell the PS610 to set the input HDMI 1 to the output, the PS610 will automatically send a return string back to confirm the change has occurred. So this statement down here is basically testing that return string for the word HDMI and the number 1, and actually the space in between. So to be technically correct, it's looking for HDMI space 1. And if that occurs in the return string, then it sets the state of the buttons on the user interface so that the end user sees that their action did occur. And it also covers another scenario if somebody changes the input on the PS610 front panel. This conditional statement will make sure that the control panel reflects the real-time state of the switch. But the main point here is to show you that you're not learning a language here. You're just saying, I want to create an if condition testing for this statement, HDMI space 1, and if that comes back correct, then set the state of a button to active, the HDMI 1 button, and set the state of the other button, HDMI 2, to normal, deactive. Right. So again, I just wanted to give you guys a preview, but please come to the Icon classes and you'll see this is amazingly simple to program. Now, if you know Java, which is one of the top 5 languages in the world, you do have a choice to write in Java, and you see in the middle left, we show an example of some Java programming, which is also quite simple. And our program actually walks you through when you do this coding. it constantly pops up hints to help you stay on track and create legal code. So even when you write in Java, we help you the whole way to write the string correctly. And the program will tell you if you made a mistake. So if you don't do something quite right, it'll tell you exactly which line needs to be corrected and give you hints. Okay, this is just more examples of what I had been talking about. And then this is just a reference slide letting you know all the capabilities of the development environment. So I'll let you look at that when you get the deck. I really strongly encourage you guys to come to the classes. So we're going to wrap up with the Dante capabilities of our PureMedia and Max 2 cross-platform frames. So again, these are covered in other classes, but feel free to email me or anyone else in the company to understand more about our cross-platform matrix switchers. They come in all sorts of sizes, anywhere from 8x8 to 256 by 256. And yes, we do actually make and ship those, and they're out in the field in lots of different applications. So for this class, I'm really just showing you the Dante cards. There's many, many other cards and extenders and fiber and HWCE and so on. But we offer Dante input and Dante output cards. And of course, you can add as many cards as you have slots in the frame size that you pick. So you can have quite a significant amount of Dante I/O connectivity in the PureMedia frame. There's 8 channels of Dante input on the card on the left, and there's 8 channels of Dante output on the card on the right. So that's the PureMedia frame. That's a 4K30 seamless switching cross-platform matrix frame. And then we've got the Max 2, and this is the flagship big brother. This is 4K60, 444, just uncompressed, full stop. And this also adds 8 channels output per output card. The only difference here really on the Max 2 is that if you don't add any of these Dante cards, you still do get 2 channels of Dante input and output on the MCU card, the processor card, which all frames have to come with because that's the brains of the frame. So you'll find a minimum of 2 channels of input and output on the Max 2. And as I mentioned, you can expand until you run out of slots. Okay, so that covers all the products I wanted to go over with you today. Again, you got questions, I'll stay on. You can email us. I do want to emphasize that PureLink is as much a support company as we are products. So we do pre-sales engineering and design. So if you have an application that you want to make sure you're picking the right products for, feel free to reach out to us. We'll help make sure you're picking the right SKUs, and we'll happily look at your design CADs and see what we can do to help you there. And of course, we have many options of after-sales support. We've got a staff available for any support needs. We also offer extended warranties and service level agreements. So there's a lot of options for support. We also offer custom webinars. So if you have a need with a client where the level of expertise on certain products you need us to support you, we'll be happy to do that. And as I mentioned before, we have a test drive program, and I strongly recommend you take advantage of that, where any of these products that we went over or anything else in our catalog, you can bring into your shop for 30 days, kick the tires, hit the horn, whatever, and prove to yourself and feel confident in the PureLink products in our catalog. So please take advantage of that 30-day test drive. The best way to keep in touch with us, of course, is our email e-blast that we do. If you go to our website in the upper right, you can sign up for our emails. We send out at least one a week, but the next best way is LinkedIn. So follow us on LinkedIn. You can follow us on Instagram or X or Facebook if you like. And we do have plenty of videos that we post on YouTube about products, sales overview videos, as well as technical operation videos of the products. Here's our sales email and phone number, and there's my email and my phone number. That's my direct cell number. So if you guys need anything, just reach out to me. I appreciate everybody's time. Please keep an eye on our future webinars. Please get some of our gear to kick the tires on, and USB-C, Dante, icon stuff. It's all really promising stuff for 2024. And I appreciate everybody